The scratching started at 11:47 p.m. I know the exact time because I was staring at the clock, unable to sleep, replaying what had happened that afternoon. The sound wasn't like anything I'd heard before. Not claws on wood, too deliberate. Not wind, too rhythmic. Long, slow scrapes down my cabin door. Pause. 3 more scrapes. Pause. Then a sound that made every hair on my body stand up. A low, rumbling vocalization. Not quite a growl, not quite speech, but unmistakably communication. Something was out there, something huge, and it wanted in. 6 hours earlier, I'd pulled a drowning baby out of Clearwater Creek. Tiny thing, maybe 2 feet tall, covered in wet fur, not breathing. I'd done CPR, mouth to mouth on a creature that shouldn't exist. Felt its small chest start moving again, watched those eyes open. Then it scrambled away into the forest before I could process what I'd saved. Now something was at my door, and I knew with absolute certainty that turned my blood to ice. It was the mother. She'd found me. She knew what I'd done, and I had no idea if she'd come to thank me or kill me. My name is David Chen. I'm 79 years old. This happened in July 1968 when I was 23, fresh out of college, working as a forestry surveyor in the Cascade Mountains of Washington State. What happened that night changed my understanding of everything, about what lives in the deep woods, about intelligence, about gratitude, and about the thin line between terror and wonder. Let me start with that afternoon, July 14, 1968, hot summer day. I was surveying a section of forest near Clearwater Creek, a fast-moving stream fed by snowmelt from higher elevations. The water was cold and dangerous. People drowned in it regularly, which is why what I saw made no sense. I was taking measurements near the creek when I heard splashing, violent splashing, and a sound I can only describe as distressed squealing, high-pitched, panicked, the sound of something drowning. I ran toward it and saw something impossible in the middle of the creek, being swept downstream by the current. At first I thought, small bear cub, but the proportions were wrong. The way it was moving, trying to reach the surface, was wrong. And then I saw its face break the water. Not a bear, not human, something between. It went under again. The current was pulling it toward rapids 50 yards downstream. If it hit those rocks, it was dead. I didn't think, just reacted, dropped my equipment, ran along the bank. The creature surfaced again 20 yards ahead, still being swept away. I had maybe 10 seconds before the rapids. I jumped in. The cold hit me like a hammer. Mountain snowmelt is maybe 40 degrees even in July. Takes your breath away, steals it right from your lungs. For a second, I couldn't move, couldn't think. Just pure shock from the temperature. But I saw that small head go under again, saw the rapids getting closer, and training kicked in. I'd been a lifeguard in high school, saved 3 people from drowning over 2 summers. This wasn't different. Didn't matter what species. Drowning was drowning, and I knew how to stop it. I swam hard. The current was vicious, pulling me sideways, trying to drag me toward the rapids, too. My clothes were soaked heavy, dragging me down. My boots felt like anchors, but I kept swimming, strong strokes, fighting the creek with everything I had. The creature surfaced 15 yards ahead. I saw its mouth open, saw water go in. It was aspirating, breathing in water, seconds from death. 10 yards. The rapids were roaring now. I could hear them, feel the current accelerating. We were running out of time, out of creek. In another 20 seconds, we'd both be smashed on the rocks. 5 yards. The creature went under again. I couldn't see it, just churning white water. I dove, eyes open in the murky cold, couldn't see anything. Reached out blindly, felt fur, grabbed, pulled, got it, had it in my hands. Broke the surface. The creature wasn't moving anymore. Limp, unconscious. I shifted my grip. Classic lifeguard carry, one arm across its chest. Keep the head above water, swim with the other arm, and kick. The rapids were right there, maybe 15 yards. I could see the white water, the rocks. death waiting if we got swept into it. I angled toward the bank, swam diagonal to the current, using the current's power to help push us sideways, fighting it where I had to, working with it where I could, every stroke burning, lungs screaming for air in the cold, muscles cramping from the temperature shock. 10 feet from the bank, 5 feet. The current tried one last time to take us, pulled hard, but I was close enough. Got my feet down, hit bottom, rocky, slippery, but solid. Pushed off, lunged for shore, made it, dragged us both onto the rocks. Collapsed for a second, gasping, shaking from cold and adrenaline, but I couldn't stop. The creature wasn't breathing. I laid it on its back. It was tiny, maybe 20 pounds. Soaking wet fur making it look even smaller. Its chest wasn't moving. No breath sounds. Lips turning blue under the fur. It was dead. Or seconds from it. I started CPR, tilted its head back. The anatomy was close enough to human. Airway, breathing, circulation. The ABCs they drilled into me during lifeguard training. I cleared its airway first. Finger sweep. Water and debris came out. Then I checked for breathing, put my ear to its mouth. Nothing. No breath, no air movement. Chest compressions. I positioned my hands. The rib cage was tiny under my palms. I had to be careful. Too much force would break ribs. Not enough wouldn't restart the heart. I started compressions. 1, 2, 3. Counting to 15, trying to remember the rhythm. The exact pressure. Everything I'd learned 5 years ago saving humans. 15 compressions. Stop. Tilt the head. Pinch the nose. Wider than human, but it worked. Seal my mouth over its mouth. The shape was different. Flatter. Wider, but close enough. I breathed. Watched the chest rise. Breathed again. Chest rose again. Good. Air was getting in. Back to compressions. 15 more. Harder this time. Faster. Come on, come on. You didn't survive the creek just to die on the rocks. Breathe. Live. Come on. Another round of breaths. 2 breaths. Watching the chest. It rose. Fell. But no independent movement. No spontaneous breathing. The creature was still dead. I kept going. Compressions. Breaths, compressions, breaths. My arms were burning. My lungs were burning from breathing hard at altitude. But I didn't stop. Wouldn't stop. Couldn't stop. This was somebody's baby. Somebody was looking for this child. Calling for it. Terrified. I would not let that mother find her baby dead. 30 seconds. 45 seconds. A minute. How long had it been underwater? 2 minutes? 3? I didn't know. Didn't know if I was too late. But I kept trying. Compressions. Breaths. Compressions. Breaths. Then a cough. A weak, sputtering cough. Water expelled from its mouth. More coughing. The small body convulsing as it tried to clear its lungs. I rolled it onto its side. Recovery position. Let gravity help drain the water. It coughed more. Retched. Clear water, and some bile came up. But then a breath. A real breath. Independent. The chest moved on its own, drawing air in, expelling it. Again. Again. Rhythm establishing. The creature's eyes opened, unfocused at first, then sharpening, looking around, confused, scared, then focusing on me, on the face that had been breathing into its mouth, bringing it back from death. And I got my first clear look at what I'd saved, maybe 2 feet tall, covered in light brown fur that was darker when wet, face remarkably human, small nose, expressive eyes, mouth that could clearly show emotion. But the proportions were wrong. The brow ridge was more pronounced. The ears were slightly pointed. The hands had 5 fingers, but were wider, stronger than human infant hands. A baby Bigfoot. That's what it was. That's what I'd just saved. We stared at each other. It was breathing hard, scared, confused, but alive. Then I heard something that made my stomach drop. A vocalization from the forest. Deep. Loud, urgent, a call, and the baby responded, made a high-pitched sound, calling back. The mother, she was looking for it, and she was close. The baby scrambled to its feet. looked at me one more time. I swear I saw something like gratitude in its eyes. Then it ran, disappeared into the dense undergrowth in seconds, moving fast for something that had just nearly drowned. I sat there on the rocks, soaking wet, shivering, trying to process what had just happened. I'd saved a baby Bigfoot, pulled it from the creek, did CPR, brought it back from death, and now it was gone. I heard more vocalizations in the distance, the baby calling. A deeper voice answering. They were reuniting, mother and child, safe. I gathered my equipment, hiked the 3 miles back to my cabin, changed into dry clothes, made dinner, tried to act normal, but my mind was racing. What I'd saved, what it meant, whether I should tell anyone. Who would even believe me? By 11 p.m. I was in bed but couldn't sleep, kept replaying it. The feel of that small chest under my hands, the moment it started breathing again, those eyes opening, the gratitude I thought I'd seen, the sound of the mother calling in the distance, the baby's response, the reunion I hadn't witnessed but could imagine, a mother finding her child alive, the relief, the joy, the questions she couldn't ask. Where were you? What happened? How did you survive? I wondered if she knew, if somehow the baby could communicate what had happened, that it had fallen in the water, that the current had taken it, that a human had jumped in, had saved it, had brought it back from death. Did Sasquatch have language sophisticated enough for that? Could the baby tell its story? And if it could, what would the mother think? A human touched her baby, put its mouth on her baby's mouth, pressed on her baby's chest, did things that, without context, might seem violent, might seem like an attack. Would she understand it was rescue, or would she think I'd hurt her child? These thoughts circled in my mind, keeping me awake, making me anxious. I'd done a good thing, saved a life. But what if the mother didn't see it that way? What if she thought... The scratching started at 11:47 p.m. I was staring at my clock when the first sound came, long, slow, deliberate, scraping down the wooden door. Not frantic, not violent, measured, controlled, the sound of something large and powerful announcing its presence. My heart stopped, then started racing. Every survival instinct I had screamed danger. Something huge was outside my cabin, at night, at my door, and I was alone, miles from help, no phone, no weapon except a hunting rifle I kept, but had never fired at anything living. Another scrape, pause, 3 more, rhythmic, purposeful. This wasn't random. This was communication. This was, I'm here, I know you're in there, acknowledge me. Then came the vocalization, low, rumbling, resonating in my chest, even through the heavy wooden door. Not a growl, animals growl from the throat. This was deeper, from the chest, from the belly. A sound that carried meaning I couldn't parse but could feel. Power, intelligence, intent. I sat up in bed. My cabin was tiny, 12 by 16 feet. One room. The door was 8 feet from my bed. Whatever was on the other side could hear me breathing, could probably smell me, knew exactly where I was. I tried to think rationally. Bear? No, bears didn't scratch like that, didn't vocalize like that. Mountain lion? Wrong sounds, wrong size. I could tell from the scraping that whatever was out there was huge, tall. The scrapes started high and went low, 6 feet of door getting scored by something's claws or fingers. I knew what it was, had known from the first scrape. The mother. She'd tracked me, followed my scent from the creek. I'd been soaking wet, probably left a trail a child could follow, found my cabin, found where I lived, and now she was here. But why? That was the question that made my hands shake. To thank me? To kill me? To warn me? To take revenge for touching her baby? I didn't know. Couldn't know. And that uncertainty was terrifying. Another scrape, then a different sound, smaller, higher pitched, familiar. The baby. It was out there too. I heard it vocalize, that same sound it had made at the creek when calling for its mother, and I heard the mother respond. Softer, gentler, a mother's voice to her child. They were communicating. She'd brought the baby with her. Why? To show it where the human lived? To teach it to avoid this place? And this thought made my blood run cold. To let the baby identify me? Confirm I was the one? Before she attacked? I heard the baby vocalize again, closer to the door now, then sniffing. The distinct sound of sniffing. The baby was smelling the door, smelling my scent on it, recognizing it. I'd held that baby. My scent was all over it. It would know my smell anywhere now. I heard a small sound, almost like happy recognition. The baby recognized my scent, and the sound it made wasn't fearful. Was it? The mother vocalized again. Different tone, questioning, prompting. I couldn't tell. But the baby responded, a whole series of sounds, communication flowing between them. The baby telling its story, explaining what happened, describing the human. I sat frozen on my bed, unable to move, unable to think clearly. Terror and wonder fighting in my mind. This was first contact, actual communication, however indirect, with Sasquatch. With a mother who had brought her child to my door for a reason I couldn't fathom. I had to make a choice. Stay in bed, hide, hope they left. Or, and this seemed insane, open the door, face whatever was out there. Trust that the mother's intentions weren't violent. Trust that saving her baby meant something to her. Trust that an intelligent creature would understand debt and gratitude. My hand was on the door handle before I'd consciously decided. Some part of me, the part that had jumped into freezing water without thinking, the part that had done CPR on an impossible creature, the part that believed in basic goodness, even in the face of terror, made the choice for me. She was massive, 8 feet tall, maybe more, shoulders broader than any human's, covered in dark reddish-brown fur, face remarkably intelligent, high forehead, deep-set eyes that reflected my porch light. Mouth that could have been threatening, but wasn't. She was just standing there, watching me, and next to her, half hidden behind her leg, was the baby. Dry now. Fur fluffed up, alive, looking at me with recognition. We stared at each other, woman and Sasquatch, prey and predator. Though I wasn't sure which was which, she made a sound, softer than before, not threatening, almost questioning. I'm not going to hurt you, I said quietly. Either of you. She tilted her head, studying me. Then she did something that changed everything. She gently pushed the baby forward, toward me. The baby hesitated, looked up at her. She made an encouraging sound. The baby approached, stopped about 3 feet away, looked at me, then reached out one small hand, touched my leg, gently, deliberately. A gesture of, what? Thanks? Acknowledgement? Connection? I slowly knelt down, put myself at the baby's level. You're okay, I said softly. You're breathing. You're safe. The baby made a soft sound. Then before I could react, it hugged me. Tiny arms around my neck, warm, alive, trusting. I heard a sound from the mother. Looked up. She was making a low rumbling noise. But her face, I swear her face was showing emotion. Relief? Gratitude? Something profound and unmistakable. The baby released me, ran back to its mother. She picked it up, cradled it, looked at me one more time, and bowed her head. A gesture so human, it took my breath away. A gesture of thanks. Then she turned and walked into the forest. In seconds, they were gone, disappeared like ghosts. I stood on my porch, shaking, not from fear, from awe, from the weight of what had just happened. A mother Bigfoot had brought her baby to thank the human who'd saved its life, had allowed that baby to approach me, to show trust, to acknowledge the debt between us. I went back inside, sat down, and cried. From the overwhelming emotion of it, from the beauty of what I'd witnessed, from the profound connection I'd felt with a species that wasn't supposed to exist. I didn't sleep that night, just sat by my window, thinking, processing, understanding that I'd been given a gift, a moment that maybe a dozen humans in history had experienced. direct, peaceful contact with Sasquatch, based on mutual respect, based on a life saved. The next morning I found something on my porch, a pile of fish, fresh salmon, 6 of them, cleaned and gutted, an offering, a gift in return for the gift I'd given. Over the following weeks, I'd occasionally find things, more fish, berries arranged in neat piles. Once a deer haunch, more meat than I could eat before it spoiled. I shared it with the ravens and coyotes. But I understood the gesture, reciprocity. You saved my baby, I feed you. We're even. We're connected. I never saw them again directly, but I'd hear them sometimes, distant vocalizations in the forest. Once I found tracks near my cabin, massive adult prints and tiny baby prints walking side by side. They were nearby, watching, aware of me, but keeping their distance. I finished my surveying work in September 1968, left the Cascades, went on to a career in forestry management, got married, had kids, lived a normal life. But I never forgot that night, never forgot that moment of connection. I never told anyone, not my wife, not my children, not my colleagues. Who would believe it? And even if they did, what then? Scientists coming in, media attention, people trying to find them, destroy their peace. I'd saved a life. I wouldn't ruin more lives for fame. But now I'm 79. My wife passed last year. My kids are grown. My career is long over, and I'm sharing this story because it deserves to be told. Because that moment of connection, that night when a mother brought her baby to thank the stranger who'd saved it, represents something important, something we've lost in our modern world. The recognition that intelligence comes in different forms, that gratitude transcends species, that communication doesn't require shared language, that love, parental love, the love of a mother for her child, is universal, whether you're human or Sasquatch or anything else. I saved a drowning baby Bigfoot in 1968. That night, its mother came to my door, not to attack, not to threaten, but to say thank you, to allow her child to acknowledge the debt, to show that her species understands reciprocity, understands gratitude, understands that sometimes humans can be trusted. And she left me gifts, fish and berries and meat, payment for a debt that was already paid by the simple act of her trust, by her allowing her baby to approach me, by her bowing her head in thanks. I'm an old man now. I don't have much time left. But I wanted this story told while I'm still here, because it's true, every word, and because it shows something beautiful about a species we dismiss as myth, as monster, as less than. They're not less than. They're different, but they understand what matters. Family, gratitude, reciprocity, trust. They understand more than we give them credit for. I saved one life in 1968, one tiny life struggling in cold water, and that single act connected me to a species, made me part of their story, made them part of mine. That's not myth. That's not legend. That's my truth. And I'm grateful, so grateful, that I jumped into that creek, that I didn't hesitate, that I saved that baby. Because what came after that midnight visit, that gesture of thanks, that moment of profound connection, was worth everything. Somewhere in the Cascade Mountains, there might be a Bigfoot in its mid-50s now, one that survived drowning because a young forestry surveyor jumped into freezing water without thinking. One that remembers, maybe, one that might have children of its own, grandchildren, a lineage that continues because of one impulsive act of kindness. And that Bigfoot's mother, if she's still alive, remembers too. Remembers the human who saved her baby, who she thanked in the only way she knew how, with trust, with gifts, with acknowledgement. That's my story, that's my truth. And I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world.